Yeah, welcome to another one. Now this is about the up down girl, right? And this was from a couple of years ago, right? Where they claimed that they found the fossilised remains of a 10-year-old child buried in Kent. Now Kent is obviously the Duke of Kent. He's the head of Freemasonry in the 7th century. And 4 and 6, 6, 12, 18, 24, which again is 6, right? And then 777 code, 37 archaeological sites. So now that this straight away is a hex. And, as you can see, 33% as well. So there's no doubt at all that this is a Masonic hex straight away. And what it's about is Izan and Yoruba groups, right? African heritage. So basically, it's this part of this sort of resetting and rewriting of history. And like obviously the ethnic and genetic backgrounds of reality, and obviously rewriting it or rewriting history to say that there was African peoples who have out in Britain and all this in the 10th century or whatever it's supposed to be, which of course is not the case. It's ridiculous type of thing. But basically you're doing this stuff, challenges perception. So you're doing this stuff to rewrite the history for the young generations, like the tiny young children now, we're going to grow up with basically a different history to what generations like us knew and all that. They're going to think that African peoples and Indian peoples and all that are basically native to British Isles, for example. That's one of the things they're trying to get them to think, right? That's what all this stuff's about. And as you can see, it's fake as anything. Again, like the 7 and 6, like genetic ancestry. It's basically trying to say that those Africans in Europe being time, which of course is ridiculous. No ways, up, down, girl. They've even got pictures of Billy Joel's song. That daft Billy Joel song mixed in with it, So someone's just taking the pill. It's obviously who else. Again, 777, So as you see, the skeletal remains of a young Anglo-Saxon girl. Now, Anglo-Saxon is basically the English and the German people, right? What they're saying is, this is a young Anglo-Saxon girl who had a modern analysis indicated she had West African ancestry. Well, that don't make any sense. That's a direct contradiction, and that's why it's up, down, girl. You're going up and down at the same time. That's contradictory, that's ridiculous. So this is a total, like I say, for them reasons what I've just said there. It's for them reasons. To rewrite history and make young ones basically grow up with a false history, where African peoples, Indians, etc. are going to be basically just going to perhaps even eradicate the entire existence that there was ever white people in these lands. Maybe that's the ultimate plan. Looks a total possibility. Max Planck Institute. Thick as 2 short planks. Again, they're directly to do with the dumbing down of people generally, especially in these European societies where education was always of a premium, was always of importance, and now it's like dumbed down. Basically this is like across the board, right? Like for example, they had this levelling up thing, which was to do with this Richie Sunak. It's going about levelling up, and it was basically about bringing the immigrants in, making the immigrants on an equal level to the native peoples of the lands. So basically, the up-down go. It's about bringing certain ones up and bringing down the other ones. And obviously changing the societies over and all that. So what was up becomes down, what was down becomes up. And basically, the date on that, 7th of July, 7 good. And you've got this new thing again about Anglo-Saxons, right? Racially diverse cast of player Anglo-Saxons in the Battle of Hastings, right? Now, whether or not this Battle of Hastings things actually took place, right? About that time, 1066, and again, if it even existed as a time period, because obviously it could have took the calendar from any time, they could have started the calendar from 1500 and something if they wanted it, but obviously at this early time, which is supposedly 1066, again, there was no Africans on British coast, it was all European peoples in them parts. So when they're doing this stuff, what they're basically doing is again, rewriting history for the intentions of dumbing down younger generations who don't know any better, I know we see this in psychiatric, and they've started with using the term blitz. Blitz narrative of resilience, which come about from the COVID-19 pandemic thing, again hex. So and then that's why they made this movie, this called Blitz, 2024, so after that COVID thing is finished, and it's basically about a wartime blitz, right? Except there's a twist in it, and the main hero is like an African kid. Right? Basically, of course, it's about things like like racism things, so you've got the background of bombs, burning people to bits and all this, right? Like people getting killed all over the place, and again, whether or not that actually happened, right, is highly debatable, right? But against this background of all this, wholesale murder and bombings, the worst thing going is racist name, to racially abuse a young black lad or something, and that's the worst thing that could ever be, you know what I mean? So again, it's just a total propaganda piece. And again, rewriting history to include African people, right, into London in this case. I used to know someone who lived in London, right, they were a Cockney, who were old, and they said they'd never seen a black person until 1950 or something, right? So that's garbage, that type of idea is garbage, right? So basically, that in mind, the resilience was obviously what we're trying to break down by doing these things, trying to break down people's resilience, and the mental health thing and all that. Obviously, they don't want resilient type of people mentally. They want weak and fragile people, like it says there. Weak, vulnerable, and fragile people. What they want to create. See what I mean? So obviously they don't want resilient people mentally. So basically, interestingly born on March 2436, 1711 death. Now obviously Steve McQueen is known as the one out the Great Escape. this new one, this little bit short. This new one was coming on. We'd obviously took the name Steve McQueen as a joke type of thing, because obviously when you got the Great Escape, right, we then got the Great Replacement idea, right, which is obviously what that's based on. Right? Of course, one name Masons. Yeah. Here's the wife, Lady McQueen, Bianca Stigter. And directed this movie for 3 minutes, a lengthening, which is all about Auschwitz camps or something similar to that. I see there 3, 7, again 777 code. And all about this type of stuff. To me looks like Charles Windsor, that. And that one looks like another one of them royals. Maybe he's superimposed the royal faces in. This means 3 Masons, 3 Masons. Yeah, funny when you put in is Charles Windsor Muhammad. Says yes, Charles Windsor is a Muslim. But if you know about the actual Muhammad thing, Otis Muhammad is a secret. And the Muhammad is also in the Sikh religion. According to this, many Muhammads had been on the earth. They were born and then died in their own times. So there was a Muhammad for each and every age, according to this. Creates his devotees and presents their honor over Lord King. This is from the Sikh interpretations of it. So basically, I would say that Charles Windsor is Muhammad. Is the current day Muhammad for these ones that worship that. That's what I would say. Many Muhammads have been on the earth. They were born and then died in their own times. It is said that in each and every age he creates his devotees and preserves their honor over Lord King. He was God sent person in world Arabia. And I created Muhammad who was made master of Arabia. And there he kept circumcised people. Say that Charles Windsor is basically Muhammad of this age. See? God beings. By death, calling. Basically of this with one store in sight, which is Alistair Crowley, with a significant text written around 1911. Again, that could be something to do with 9/11, because we know that the Bush family is related to Alistair Crowley. And this basically could be the Islamic Star, and obviously the Jewish Star.